He said, "This is going to make an incredible chapter in your story one day if you don't give up." You put your ego aside in those moments and you just say, what do we need to do to keep going? But really, the wins are found in the boring and the basic. It's doing the same thing day after day after day, little bitty adjustments, but really just doing the thing until you're tired of doing it. And that's where the magic really starts to happen, is when you keep going. The success for me is if until the day I die, I'm able to plant seeds in others and just chip away at that process without getting bored or distracted. I'll take that as a win all day.
With over 15 years of experience in entrepreneurship and team development, what's one of your most surprising lessons you've learned about leadership?
Oh man, it's harder than you think. It's scarier than you think, but it's so worth it. And I think the biggest lesson, if I could have gone back even 15 years and just told my younger self, is you're going to have to be in a constant battle with your ego. But if you will continually chase excellence, and whatever excellence looks like, over the need to look good or look perfect or polished, magic starts to happen as a leader, as a business owner. And I think that was something I got caught up in very early on, because I worried about how we looked as a business and a brand. And I didn't want to be the business owner selling shirts out of the trunk of my car like I did day one, right? Or working the expo booths when we were traveling the country. I cared about how I looked versus how much better we got. And that is ultimately what a leader's biggest question is. Do you care about how you look and letting your ego run the way of who gets credit, or do you just care about getting better and helping people? And when you care about getting better and helping people, that's where the magic starts to happen throughout your career, and more importantly, in others.
You've mentioned nearly sinking the company during the transition from apparel to training. Can you elaborate on the specific challenges you faced and what kept you going during that valley, as you put it?
Yeah. So we saw a couple of things. We made a shift. We did a lot of offline events. So we did marathons, CrossFit competitions, fitness expos. We'd set up booths and sell. So we had a large offline presence in addition to an online presence. And when we started to shift, it was just at the right time where a lot of people flooded the market. So it was a huge rise in competition. The venues and events started increasing their sales quite a bit. So I saw where this is going, that your profit margin in these events is going to drop. So we went heavy in events, and then we completely got out of it. Probably should have scaled that down a little bit better than we did, but we got out of it so I could turn all of my focus over here to building this speaking and training side. And what happened is, I mean, we accumulated debt. Even more so than you had anybody listening that has been in a products based business. You're always kind of dealing with a line of credit or business debt because you're always having to hold inventory to sell. So we have that. So at the same time we're having that, I had some credit card payments we couldn't pay because I skipped my payroll to make sure our team was covered. And it was really the lowest period of, I took a gamble, and I don't know if I made the right move. Like, it's everybody, every one of us have it, regardless of how the story turns out. And I remember going back to one moment, my wife still laughs about this, is I'm getting ready to about have a breakdown at the kitchen table because there was a bill, and it wasn't even that large of a bill. But I was like, I can't pay this right now because I got to make sure people get paid. And then I'm going to have some tough conversations with vendors about, we can't work with you, whatever. And she comes in, and her first question, like, she sees me visibly upset, and she goes, "Oh my God, are you okay? Do you have cancer? What's going on?" I was like, "No, like, I can't pay this bill, and I'm going to have to make some changes for us." And she was like, "Oh, like, that's no big deal. Like, if anybody can figure this out, it's you." And she gave me this little vote of confidence. And one of the guys who I'd worked with for about 4 years, he was helping me on the operations side. He was one of the contractors who I was like, "Hey, we've got to end things next month. Like, we just visibly, to keep the business alive, I've got to cut as much overhead as I can." And he said, "Man, I get it." He said, "But here's what I'm going to tell you." He said, "This is going to make an incredible chapter in your story one day if you don't give up." And I remember him telling me at lunch, and this is somebody who you're like, "Hey, listen, like, I have to cut the ties for right now." And for him to kind of speak that reminder in me gave me a little bit of faith to say, okay, what can we do? And what it really became for me is, every day, what are we doing to dig a little bit away from that mountain that we're trying to get up, and not to be distracted by any other shiny objects, any other distractions. And so you put your ego aside in those moments and you just say, what do we need to do to keep going? And I think that's where it goes back to that thing I would have told myself 15 years ago of, like, don't worry about your ego. Like, don't let it get bruised. Don't, just focus on getting better. And so for me, it was a combination of the people I was fortunate to have worked with and been around. And then it was just a shift in focus of I don't really care how messy this looks, how quote amateur or professional we look. I just care about how do we move product, help people, and keep this thing going.
Many leaders struggle to implement lasting change. What are some quick wins that leaders can achieve to start building momentum?
Start super small. Start smaller than you even think you want to. And I say that I've picked something super small and work on it for 2 to 3 weeks and then add something else. We typically don't stick with lasting change because we try to do too much too quick. We go to a conference, we hear something, we change everything, and then we burn everyone out. In reality, getting it to stick is not about what can I change this month in the entire organization. It's what can I change over the next year. And if you start breaking that down into little 2 week bites, you have a better chance to get things to stick. And one of the best ways I would say is to identify the really, really small step, set a deadline for 2 weeks, add to it, adjust to it, but then have somebody help you. And there's a really great app called Habit Share. It's free. You can download it, Apple or Google Play Store. But what it'll allow you to do is set a small habit. What's your daily habit Monday through Friday? And allow you to add someone in your network to that agrees. And then every day when you do it, you click a box and it'll send them a notification that you did or didn't do the thing. And so you want to be better about implementing change. You start small and then you get some accountability to hold you because your likelihood of following through dramatically grows when you know somebody else is relying on hearing from you or counting on you to update them.
How does embracing the boring play a role in achieving long term results? And how do you help clients shift their mindset toward consistency?
Yeah, for any business owner that's ever suffered from shiny object syndrome or chasing squirrels, like some of us have, you know very much that becomes a fleeting game. And a lot of that's hardwired into our brain of we love the hit, right? We love the excitement, the shiny, the new. But really, the wins are found in the boring and the basic. It's doing the same thing day after day after day, little bitty adjustments, but really just doing the thing until you're tired of doing it. And that's where the magic really starts to happen is when you keep going. It's no different than eating healthy, right? Broccoli and chicken, salmon can get boring. Doesn't taste as good as a donut sometimes, but day after day after day, you start to get the results you want. And so, from a business perspective, it's how are you tracking the day to day, the little things. We use something in my first book called the Competitor Scorecard. It does a couple things of building these daily habits, but one of the key pieces is really similar to what Jerry Seinfeld did when he started his comedic career with this idea of don't break the chain. He would put a calendar on his refrigerator, and every day he'd write a new joke. He'd put an X in a box. New day, new joke, new X. Pretty soon his brain started getting programmed to just see the momentum, right? See the X's in a row. And so he was like, don't break that chain. There's a free iPhone app that has the same concept of keeping the streak going. And for us, the boring wears us out when we keep focusing on the gap that we've talked about a few times, where we're not or how much farther we have to go versus what do I need to do today. And the easiest way is to focus on what you need to do today is create something that you can gamify it. So whether it's a calendar on your refrigerator, your office desk, a tally that you're making of making sure every day you're keeping the streak going, it's going to allow you to focus in on am I doing the things that move us forward every day versus getting distracted by the shiny that ultimately put us further behind the eight ball.
How do you see the role of AI and technology evolving in leadership development and coaching?
Man, it's not going away. What I love it is people tend to think that AI is going to replace us, and I don't see it replacing us. What I love that it does is helps speed up some of the process. So a really good example is even setting up, basic. Hey, you're stuck. We've got a conference coming up this Friday, and I want to have some conversation starters at tables for people. And I even just hit a roadblock of like, I've got a couple of questions, but I'm stuck. You hop into AI, and it's like, hey, leadership development and personal development conference for leaders in this stage of their career. What are 8 to 10 conversation starters or networking questions? And it spits out. And from that, a couple of them, I'm like, oh, these are perfect. But other ones, I'm like, oh, that's a really good idea, but I want to change it. And so, what I think it allows us to do is speed up the process of idea generation. It also, as I've told people, if you're a highly emotional business owner or leader, that emotion sometimes comes out in email and text. And so, even doing something and taking AI to say, hey, help me recraft this email in a professional tone without the emotion can help save relationships, help people going into a coaching session. Hey, what are a few questions that I should be asking one of my direct reports who I'm coaching? All it's going to do is help speed up our access to information and cut down the need to think that I've got to have everything inside my brain versus I have a tool that can help me do better work at what I'm doing and access information faster.
As you continue to innovate in the field, how do you plan to incorporate emerging technologies into your frameworks and training models?
Yeah, so it varies so much by industry. So what we really try to do is unlock individuals' ideas for curiosity and then equip them. So, for example, we worked with a manufacturing company earlier this year that works in foundation repair, and so they had all their vendors and clients from all over the world at this conference. And one of the questions is AI. Well, they're going to know the tools that their industry uses much better. And so we went through it on our prep calls. But then I said, hey, if you're doing opportunities and webinars, why don't we create a webinar where you're going to teach all of these vendors and clients in the rooms ways they can utilize very specific, 2 to 3 specific technologies? They're like, we love it. So, as part of the program, we set up this need for curiosity. We talk about where these tools that most people are afraid of can actually be an advantage to you if you're willing to make some time to learn it and work through the mess. And here's a free resource that's going to allow you to learn it more. And so we understand it's not going away, but what I want to get people more inclined to do is being willing to explore and test where the new technologies help them, whether it's, hey, we're building a leadership development program for our company. We've got a new leader one, but we want one for C suite. Utilizing AI to help you outline ideas for where you might miss learning objectives or things, and then source additional ideas out of to help you build something internally. That's where we start to see people, because what it'll allow you to do is work faster and free up your time and especially brain power for tasking people at hand.
Starting out by selling shirts from the trunk of your car to now being a globally recognized keynote speaker, what has been your most fulfilling moment in this journey?
I would say every new day, and I say that as cheesy as it sounds, but I'm internally grateful every chance I get to step on a stage to help people, to work with people that have either been with us since 2011 or just joined day one. And so I truly love the fact to encourage and teach people, um, and so that's been the best moment. I would say one of the cooler moments was the very first group that hired me to speak back in 2014, Texas Children's Hospital in Houston. And I wasn't a speaker then, had no aspirations to be a speaker then. And I went down and I fumbled through some of my story in this talk. And the VP afterwards said, you need to go do more of this. And I kind of brushed it aside. And 5 years later, as I was getting into speaking, they reached out and I had a chance to go back down and speak, really focused on this. And so that was a really unique emotional moment for me, because their one event 20 decade ago was really what set the spark that, or the planted the seed, I should say, that later started to grow.
You mentioned a couple of things, some advice you would give yourself in the past. But looking back, are there any other pieces of advice you'd give your younger self when you were first starting Compete Every Day?
Yeah, I mean, a couple of things we talked about here is get really good at the boring instead of chasing shiny objects. Like I was good early in my career of chasing things because I thought there was a magic tipping point, right? I thought that if you just did this one thing, then everything would just skyrocket versus like business is really stacking bricks every day. It's not, hey, you stack bricks and all of a sudden it turns into rocket fuel. It's really just stacking bricks. And I didn't quite understand that early on because there was so much I didn't know. I didn't know, especially building the e-commerce side. And so I would tell myself, in addition to chasing excellence over ego, it's become a really good bricklayer and be okay with the slow process of playing the long game versus being in a rush to get to the wrong spot.
What's next for you and Compete Every Day? Are there new areas of leadership development you're looking to explore?
Yeah, so I'm really excited. I'm in the midst of working on book 3 and kind of a program for high school and college athletes around a lot of these concepts. I don't do a ton of speaking to a younger audience, but almost without fail, every time I do a keynote or a program, somebody comes up and says, "Do you have something for my kid?" And so wanting to serve that audience, especially knowing that's tomorrow's leaders, that's the future leaders. We want to equip them with new ways. And so we're in the process of a book and kind of quick training course online that college and high school athletes can take to build their leadership skills so they can make a better impact on their classmates, but really start to build the foundation that over the next 10, 15, 20 years are going to put them in a position to make bigger impacts on those around them.
What's the most significant impact you hope to make in your industry, and how do you plan to measure that impact over the next few years?
Man, that's a great question. I haven't been asked that before. For me, I would say it's change a million lives, and what I mean by that is I just want to directly encourage or impact a million people, and that's getting on stages, podcast, all of that. How will I know if I've done it? Maybe if we're tracking audience sizes at one day and downloads. I know we've got a couple million podcast downloads, but for me, I don't really care about the measured results. I care about the seeds I plant, and if I can wake up every day and look for opportunities to plant seeds in leaders, I'll let them take care of the ripple effect and go see the outcomes. I don't need that for my reward. And so if I can, success for me is if until the day I die, I'm able to plant seeds in others and just chip away at that process without getting bored or distracted, I'll take that as a win all day.
Well, the website is competeeveryday.com. People can see your upcoming conferences and speaking events. They can buy books, merchandise. Is there anywhere else that you'd like to point people?
Yeah, I would say if you're on social media, I really only hang out on two places, but would love to connect with you. LinkedIn is going to be my main place, and that's just Jake Thompson. You'll see me as a speaker on there. And then Instagram is Jake Thompson Speaks. So anything that we talked about today, if you want to dive deeper, if you have a follow up question, shoot me a note and would love to continue the conversation.
Well, thank you so much for talking to us today. You have a lot of experience, and I think everyone can kind of relate to what you talked about with shiny object syndrome and being consistent and working with that ego. So, thank you once again for your advice.
Thanks for having me, David.